Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video it might be slightly inspired by my void pulls yesterday for that guaranteed. And I got a couple of legendaries that potentially should have buffs. We're going to talk about it today, right? We've seen Angar and Fortis buffed at the start of the year here in 2024. What are the next void legendaries that need buffs? If you guys want to get involved as well, jump to the comment section down below. I've got a giveaway for up to 10 people. I've got 2 giveaways, 5 people each. Let me double check what they are. Okay, great. We've got the info. I always forget. So 5 winners down below will get 540 gems each, which is pretty fantastic. And then 5 winners will get an even better one. They'll get the 540 gems, but you'll also get a void shard and an epic tome. I'll just choose you randomly. So, out of the 10 people, 5 will get the gems, 5 will get the gems plus extra. What you have to do is you need to share your number here with me in the comment section. This is just so Plarium, this is giveaways part of the content creator program. So Plarium can send the giveaways to your account. That's how they identify your account. Yeah, just leave that number in the description and tell me your number 1 pick for a void legendary that should be buffed next, right? You can only choose one, right? So narrow it down to 1. And let's go. Let's jump in to the Banner Lords first of all. Obviously, Taras Marishka don't need a buff. I think Baron is fine. I don't have Quintus. I think he's probably fine as well. I'd say Raglan is probably in need of a buff. This is, you might be saying, no, this is why you're doing this video. It's true. I think that there's some cool stuff about Raglan. She's got a 2-turn revive with full turn meter on that revive. That's really good. So that's super cool, really interesting. Their A2, this is probably the thing that you would definitely touch up. You arguably could need a bit more love than this, right? A bit more stuff, but fixing this A2 would be a big step along the way. It's a cleanse with a heal, but the heal is proportional to her attack. That is really weird, right? That is really weird. It's also a 4-turn cooldown. This is a long cooldown. I mean, you've got lots of legendaries now that are doing cleanses on 3 turns. For her being a void legendary, this has really been power crept. It's really out of date. The scaling off of attack is just weird, frankly. So that could really do with a really big buff. Probably should be 3-turn. It probably should scale off her HP instead. It probably should do something else as well. It should either be an absolutely massive heal or it should give them block debuffs or strengthen or a big shield. It needs to do something else, right, to make her stand out. Like I said, she could probably do with an additional passive or something. But yeah, at least she's got that revive going for her. But I'd say Raglan pretty high up there. Looking at the high elves, what do we think? Arbiter's fine. I think Supreme Elhain is fine. Bellinor got buffed before. He's fine. Ethos is fine overall. I mean, the only thing I'd say, you just have this weird thing. This attack is always critical. That's kind of weird. He got buffed before too. They made his weaken better. I'd personally just give him maybe a bit of ignore defense on his A3 or something. You're building him with crit anyway, right? That's just, you're never not building him with crit. So yeah, I think you could change this. That being said, if they don't do anything to him, it's really not a huge deal. That's just a small change. But yeah, there we are. Jumping over to Sacred Order, we have some interesting stuff here. I actually forgot Vitreous was even in the game, to be honest. I forgot this guy existed. I fought him in live arena. I locked him out, and then he massively nuked my team, but he didn't kill them. Possibly a gear issue, I don't know. He's kind of interesting as an anti-lockout champion. On a 5-turn cooldown, when he gets locked out, it will reset one of his skills and give him an extra turn. So that's kind of cool. So he could potentially just reset his nuke and then nuke the enemy team, ignoring lots of defense, giving him turn meter. That's nifty. I think one of the problems is that it reduced the cooldown on one of his skills at random, and that's kind of rough. It probably should reset both of his skills. Because, yeah, it's kind of a 50-50. You might get his AoE nuke and get to nuke them, and that's great. Or you might just get a single target hit, which is not very good. So that's kind of a problem with him. He could probably do with a bit of a buff. I mean, he looks cool, but yeah. So I'd say him. Cardula is obviously great. I think Constantine is fine. He's got some block revive stuff. Venus is great. Sir Nicholas may be a bit out of date. Again, he's sort of like Raglan, one of these, really old school ones. It's a solid kit, but it's lacking something compared to the modern ones, right? 50-50 irresistible freeze A1 is good. AoE with the shield based off damage inflicted, that's good. Maybe you could up the damage a bit or up the shield scaling a bit. Then he's got unkillable with continuous heal on a 4-turn, and that's it. Again, I feel like he needs something extra, maybe an extra passive. Maybe make this a bit juicier. 2 continuous heals, maybe up the shield scaling, up his protective value. I don't know, give him 63% crit damage or something. But not massively in need of a buff. I think the biggest one, definitely for me here, would certainly be Supreme Ethel, who's kind of a disaster. Now, she has a lot of stuff going on in her kit, and that's good. That's more modern. It's just not great, right? So she buffs herself up, and then she can do gives an extra turn, buffs herself up extra turn. She can do an AoE attack that ignores stuff and enemies under freeze and can place freeze. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just up her damage a bit, make her hit a bit harder. Her damage isn't crazy good, and then she could potentially have a cool niche, right? Where like, polymorph nerf, if that comes again, right? They've nerfed it once and it was hit or miss. They could nerf it again, and maybe this stuff could become a bit more relevant. But that's what I would say with her is I probably wouldn't go crazy with her, but I'd probably be upping her damage. Over to the Barbarians. I actually think they're all great. Turvold is great. Ursica is great. Yakarl, Tuhanarak. I think all of these are really solid. Again, obviously some are better than others, right? Like Tuhanarak is the best one, for instance. That's fine. You know, you're going to have different levels of power. It's just more so champions with kits that are really outdated. Again, with the Ogryn, Grisor is great. You know, Bellatar and Togron are not super powerful, but I think they're probably fine. I don't think they need anything new. I'd say Gurgo probably stands out as being a bit weird, right? So he's got an AoE 2 buff removal on a 4 turn. Now it's got an extra turn mechanic, so this is more like on a 3 turn. But remove 2 buffs and then AoE freeze. That's okay. Then he's got like extra hits on his other attacks if the enemy is frozen. So he's a really weird thing where you want to build him for damage because he's all about damage on his A1 and A3, but then he needs a lot of accuracy on his A2. If they've got more than 2 buffs, he could be in a pretty tough spot as well. So I think Gurgo definitely needs a bit of an update. Like, for instance, making this irresistible would make him way stronger because then you could build him for damage and cool. Okay, great. I've got a damage dealer that can strip and freeze. He will become better, obviously, any more polymorph nerfs going forwards, but Stone Skin's still an issue. Yeah, I think Gurgo, he definitely needs a bit of a touch up. I would say this is one that could use some love. To the Lizardmen, then, honestly, these are all fine. Like Krisk was great, Romantu's great, so Furion is great, Chigor, he's even pretty solid. So I don't think any of the Lizardmen really need a change, in my opinion. Over in the Skinwalkers, again, I think Leo and Tumisia are really solid. And even Coronar, I'd say Coronar's pretty solid as well. I think he probably doesn't need anything new. I'd say the biggest thing for him is Manaya kind of sucks. So that's what I do for Coronar, is make Manaya better. But I think Coronar's actually solid. So I don't think he needs a buff urgently. There's definitely ones I'd be putting before him. Over in the Orcs, we just saw Angar buffed. And I think for now, that's fine. Right, the AoE 2-turn provoke is actually quite decent. He's okay. Could have done with some, like, he's still not top tier by any means, but he's okay now. At least he's a bit more unique. Warlord, Supreme Galek are amazing. Raka is solid. Again, she's got lots of stuff going on in her kit. I feel like this champion could do with maybe a little bit of a buff. Just something small. Like, just, I don't know, tweak up, maybe make this increase turn meter every turn. Or maybe up her base stats a little bit. Maybe up the power of her shield. I don't know. Her revive is a little underwhelming. I will say that. Yeah, I don't know. She if they didn't change anything with Raka, I also wouldn't be too upset about it. I think she's a cool champion. I'd like to see her be kind of more prevalent and have more of an impact, but she's good. So yeah, I'd like to see Raka personally. I think she's really cool. I'd like to see her get a small buff, but it doesn't need to be crazy. I mean, my main issue is just I feel that she's kind of even overshadowed by, you know, like Elva, Pythion. I think the non-void revivers, the good ones, are kind of better than her, and I think that's a bit of a pity. So I would like to see her get a little bit of a buff, but doesn't need much. But I would give her a little something. Over in the Demonspawn, Neathway, I think, has got a cool niche with his everything blocks revive, so he's okay. He got some damage boosts, and maybe that's all he might need in the future, but I think he's fine right now. Rutraxa, I would definitely give a bit of a touch-up, right? She's got this weird Revive on Death passive, which again is very old, and it's just not very good. This could definitely do with a boost. Like, when she gets brought back with Revive on Death, she has, I don't know, 50% turn meter and 50% health, even. Something small like that to make this more impactful. Right now, it's like she comes back from life and she got no health or turn meter. She just dies right again. So that kind of sucks. Possibly moving that Ignore Defense onto her A2 as well. Not too important. Her A2 is still pretty good. Yeah, that's probably what I'd be changing with Rutraxa. Be fiddling with this passive to make her a bit more unique. Because again, like, she's got pretty bad speed. This passive is not really doing anything to keep her alive. She's a fun champ. Her A1 is super fun. I'd like to see something else added in to make the rest a bit relevant. Over in the Undead Hordes, I think Sifi, Nekret, Euros are all fine for sure. I think Vlad's actually fine. I think Vulcanan is fine as well. I think these ones are good. They're not in urgent need of buffs. I'd say Little Miss Annie is definitely the one that could do with a buff the most. This champion is really cool. She's just kind of clunky, right? Like, she's got this whole stuff where she can decrease turn meter, destroy max HP on enemies under heal reduction, and she heals a tiny amount against enemies. What is the point of this? She's got this whole passive that's just not particularly useful. It's just weird. And she can place heal reduction on her A1. Again, it's just not really useful. Her A2 is okay. Again, it gets bonuses against enemies under shield. She's got a lot of stuff going on, but it's just not super impactful. Probably I'll be giving her A2 just an increased attack no matter what, and maybe letting her ignore shield or something like that. That might be better. Her A3 is great. It's a massive single target nuke that basically kills anyone on a 4-turn. That's cool. But her A1 and A2 aren't doing too much. Got a fun passive. Toys Don't Die is really fun. She revives and she A1s the enemy that killed her and gives her some turn meter and a big shield. That's pretty cool. I'd like to see stuff sort of play into that. Maybe even some extra turn mechanics or something. There should be, I feel like, something extra for Little Miss Annie to make her shine a bit more. She's fun, but she's not super useful. Over in the Dark Elves, I think the easy ones first. I think, Lydia, Vizix, and Mithrala, the 3 free ones, are all fantastic. They're great. So that is good. I think the worst one is definitely Blind Seer. This champion is super out of date. She's got great speed, but, she's a little squishy compared to other Voids. She's got an AoE revive on a 5-turn with block damage for 1 turn. This is pretty underwhelming. This is just, again, compared to others, she's got that same problem. She doesn't have a lot going on in her kit, really. Triple hit at random that can decrease turn meter. Okay, but are you building with accuracy? Very weird. And then she's got block debuffs with a shield on all allies. And that's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's it. That's all she's got. She really needs a kind of a massive update, to be honest. She's so far behind. Yeah, I think she's pretty rough. I mean, she's great if you pull her early on, obviously. But yeah, like I said, I think even the Azure the Rye, Python, etc., the more modern non-void revivers are bringing so much more than this champion. She's just really struggling. I mean, a 5-turn revive, that's just a bit silly. And this needs a lot more. So yeah, Blind Seer, honestly, she needs almost everything updated, I have to say. Primaria, at least she's got a lot going on in her kit. That's cool. Pretty underwhelming, but I probably wouldn't rush out. I think she's just kind of bad. I probably wouldn't rush out to buff her. She's going to be great for Cursed City and stuff like that. So, okay, we'll give her some room. I wouldn't rush out. Vitalis Blademaster, I actually think he's okay. I don't think he sucks half as much as people say he does. Personally, seeing as he's new, right, I would give him a little bit of a damage boost. No, I think just a small damage boost would do a lot to make this champion better. But I don't think he's bad by any stretch of the imagination. But I personally would give him a little damage boost. Supreme Kale, now this is an interesting. He might actually be sleeper OP. This is the funny thing. I was thinking about Supreme Kale. This is part of what made this video as well. I think he could actually be really good. When you think about it, he is possibly, arguably, one of the best poisoners in the game. The problem with Supreme Kale isn't his kit. His kit's actually great, right? AoE with 3 poisons that cannot be resisted and then increases debuff duration. Great. Like, his moves are great. Increase accuracy, AoE decrease resistance that can't be resisted, and turn meter boost. AoE A1 with weaken. Yeah, he's got a great kit. He's got great base stats, really, for a damage dealer. He's great. The problem with Supreme Kale is the meta, right? That AoE poisons is just not useful in the game at the moment. It's just not. Like, yeah, some of the Cursed City stuff, he's good there. But Hydra, most of them can't be poisoned. And there's just not much use for it. But I wouldn't change anything. He is potentially sleeper OP. I could easily see content come out in the future where Supreme Kale could be like one of the best champs, if not the best champ for it. Like, it could happen. It could happen. I'm quite intrigued. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve in terms of Supreme Kale. I've got no blessings for him. But man, if I got some blessings for Supreme Kale, we could do some fun stuff. Rathalos set, maybe a bit of lethal dose. Stay tuned for that. I said it here first. Bear it in mind. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, Supreme Kale could be quite fun. Over in the Knights Revenant, okay, obviously Narcisse is great. Solus is great. Hedgie, again, I think he's totally fine. The meta doesn't really suit him, but he's okay. I think he's fine. Even Whirlum, again, is a bit bland, a bit weak, but not terrible. He's all right for it. Honestly, out of all of these, I don't know. I think these are all probably fine. Jorget is great. Fortis just got buffed. Again, I think there's some clunky stuff in here. Same as with the always crits on Ethos, right? He always crits against targets under fear. This stuff is like, what's the point of that? I would really clean that up. I think that's kind of nonsense in his kit. But hey, look, they put it in with Ethos and him. Personally, I would change both of those, but it's a small thing. Parallon the Ringer, again, he could be real good with potentially with the meta changing, right? The AoE freeze. You know, if Stone Skin ever got nerfed or if Polymorph gets nerfed again, this guy could be pretty solid. So I wouldn't rush out to change anything with him. I think he scales real well with Rathalos set as well. It's kind of a game changer for him. So I think they're all fine. For Dwarves then, Tormund and Chrissy are both great. For Shadowkin, Riho is great. Yumiko is great. Shuzen. Jingwan, I think he's got a bit of a place now with his, transfer and extending debuffs. He's not terrible anymore. I think his initial buff was probably enough. I'd be buffing other ones first. Jinro probably definitely could use a buff. This guy, unfortunately, kind of sucks, right? So one interesting thing, he provokes every enemy under increased attack at the end of his turn. That's cool. And it turns his resistance into accuracy. It's really cool. Great. Probably what I would change would be increasing his defense whenever he counterattacks, but it resets when he gets a turn. I mean, number one, how much does it increase his defense? I don't know. That's kind of weird, right? If I look at Harima, all right, okay, cool. Every hit decreases defense by 5%, and each hit increases her defense by 5%, up to 100%. All right, I know exactly what Harima's move does. Increases his defense every... How much? What does it do? Does it give him +1 defense? Does it give him 5%? I have no idea. And also the defense reset every time he gets a turn kind of sucks. This could easily get a Harima treatment. 5% defense increase every time he counterattacks. Full stop. Done. Resets each round, maybe. But yeah, just 5% defense whenever he counterattacks. Just scale up. Great. Yeah, he gives himself increased defense and counterattack. His A1 can increase skills at random. That's cool. His A2 is a 2-turn stun that ignores block debuffs, block damage. That's neat. Maybe this could ignore Stone Skin as well. And then you've got potentially, he still wouldn't be amazing, I think, but you've got at least an interesting champion. It's like, all right, I slap on counterattack. I just keep ramping up and locking you out and stunning you. You can't stop it. That could be fun. That could be interesting. So Jinro, he could be good, but definitely he'd be the one I'd be looking to here. And then finally, Sylvan Watchers, actually fairly weak in terms of wood Legos. Emic is good. He was the fusion. I think Eilil and Clydna both need a buff, right? Eilil, he's got a really, really fun kit. He's got a really cool passive. The defense benefits are fairly small, but they're nice. The turn meter is really good. Eilil just straight up needs a damage buff. He just doesn't hit hard. Yeah, he's going to benefit from polymorph nerfs in the future. That would improve him for sure. He can counter Stone Skin a little bit. Problem is, he just doesn't hit hard enough, and he doesn't ignore shield. Yeah, I think it's a very simple fix for Eilil. Great utility. We were so hyped when he first came out, and then he just doesn't hit hard enough. He needs a fairly substantial damage buff. And yeah, I mean, this is what I feel like with Fatalis Blade Master, right? You wouldn't want to give him a crazy damage buff, right? HP damage dealers are super tanky, and he's got a super tanky passive. He shouldn't be hitting crazy, crazy hard. So he only needs a small damage buff, in my opinion. Eilil, he hits really weak as well, but he's a HP-based, an attack-based damage dealer. These are the damage dealers that should do the most damage, right? Forget about Taras, forget about Harima. It's the squishy attack-based damage dealers that should do the most, right? Because they're squishy. They've got that counterplay built in. So he should be hitting way harder. Clydna then as well. Again, this Void Legendary, she's just shocking. I mean, it seems that she's supposed to be like a Sand Devil champion, right? Revive on death. Then she's got an A1 sleep. But she can heal with her A2. She seems like she's supposed to be Sand Devil champion, but she just doesn't work. 40% HP in dungeons. I've never seen anyone do anything with her for Sand Devil. It just doesn't work. So this champion needs, again, I think a pretty colossal rework. I mean, there are rumblings, of course, of a Sand Devil change, like a rework for Sand Devil, the dungeon, which I think would be great in the future. So that could change things up. But this champion, she's weird. She's weird. She just, again, the meta, it's a weird thing, right? Supreme Kale is like, all right, the meta doesn't suit you, but it's easy to see how the meta could change and it would suit. All right, that's fine. Vidna feels like her meta was supposed to be Sand Devil, but she doesn't work. So what's the point of this champion? Yeah, she needs, I think, a fairly substantial change, honestly, to make her better. I'm not sure what you do or how you make her better. That's kind of rough, but I would say she needs a fairly big buff. And those are my thoughts on the Void Legendaries, the big ones that I think should be changed. I would say my top three, I think Raglan, I am biased because I pulled her. Raglan would be definitely one of the top three. Would I put Supreme Ethel in there? Maybe. Okay, let's definitely say Raglan. Lock her in. Not those. I won't say Raka. She's not desperate. None of those I think are desperate. Lizards are fun. Maybe Gurgo? Raglan, Gurgo? Maybe Krutraxa as well. I think Krutraxa is cooler than Little Miss Annie, so I'd give Krutraxa the win. A Blind Seer. It's got to be Blind Seer number 1. Raglan number 2. I think I'm putting Krutraxa number 3. Think so. Krutraxa or Eilil for me number 3. That's a tough. I'm going to say Krutraxa. I think Krutraxa is cooler. I think Krutraxa is super cool. She's badass. Got that super badass A1. Give her a bit of love. So that's fit for me. Blind Seer, Raglan, Krutraxa. They're my top 3. My number 1 pick is Blind Seer. I think she just stands out as so horrendously out of date. It's kind of sad. It's kind of like, do I just use her to empower Mithrala? Maybe. Anyway, look, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to enter the giveaway. I will see you all next time. Bye.